need to know how ideas and emotions are expressed through a visual form. But it still has the same rules, and it still has the same vocabulary, and it still has the same grammar, I should say.
A lot of directors use the phrase visual language as a way to describe how they plan out their movies. Makes sense. Movies grow out of photography. They're a way to tell stories using only images. This shot means something different from this shot, and they both differ from this shot. But how? We see moving images all the time, but most of us don't have the vocabulary to actually describe what's going on. A picture's worth 1,000 words, but how does an image speak? In these videos, I'm going to try to pin down what some of those 1,000 words are, the terms that directors and cinematographers use to describe the movies they make. Every film student is taught them, so if you want to be a smarter moviegoer, it's probably a good idea to know them too. Let's learn the basics of how to speak movie. Let's start by talking about the camera. Now, shot length. When we talk about shot length, we're simply saying how far the camera is from the thing that it's shooting. The particulars are fuzzy, but shots can generally be described as wide or tight, that is, far or near. In a wide shot, you can see the whole subject, the whole scene, just like watching a play on the stage. In an extreme wide shot, as in wider than a wide shot, you watch the whole scene from a distance. A medium shot is a partial body shot of the subject, usually from the knees or waist up. A two shot is when two subjects are in a frame. In this case, we're looking over each character's shoulder. Close-up, a complete detail of an actor's face, like in a portrait. Close-ups can also be a detail of an important object. Extreme close-up, even closer than a close-up, where we can't even see the whole head. Now, all of these shot lengths can mean something on their own. An extreme long shot to establish a place, a medium shot to show off a character, a wide shot to let the action speak for itself, an extreme close-up for exposition, or disorientation, a two shot to show closeness, sometimes extreme closeness, or a close-up to show powerful emotion, or lack thereof. Now, shot length works horizontally, so next, let's move vertically. Angle. Now, a nice neutral angle would be at eye level, where the camera looks straight on at its subject, where we're actually at the level of the actor. But you can make it interesting. In a high angle shot, the camera looks down at the subject, and its opposite, the low angle, looks up at the subject. There are plenty of uses for both, but generally, a low angle can make a person seem large and menacing, and a high angle can make them seem small and kind of silly. Stranger still, the Dutch angle, where the camera's canted to look at the subject from a tilted angle. Though it should be called a Deutsch angle. It got the name from its use in this German film, which used canted angles to make everything seem a bit strange. Now let's go to a third dimension. After length and height, we have depth. Now a camera, like a human eye, doesn't focus on everything at once. How much a camera focuses on is called depth of field, the distance between the nearest and farthest parts in an image that appear acceptably sharp. In other words, depth of field is how much is in focus. For example, this shot is in deep focus, with a long depth of field. Everything in the shot is in focus, from the man in front, all the way to the man in back. All three characters are important in this scene. And its opposite is, of course, shallow focus, a short depth of field. Only part of the shot is in focus. It's often used to show an important part of the frame. Notice how in this argument, three characters are vying for power, literally trying to be the focus of everyone's attention. A neat trick often done with short depth of field is the rack focus, changing the focus mid-shot. Here, the hat is in focus. When it blows back, the focus blows with it. The rack focus can draw the eye to important details. In this scene, we get a question,
Benjamin, will you just tell me what this is all about?
And the focus racks, and the question gets answered. There's also fake shallow focus in the tilt shift. Here, a special lens or digital post-production can selectively blur part of the image. This creates an artificial depth of field, to interesting effect. Lenses are important tools for controlling focus. Common ones include the telephoto lens, a long lens that compresses space. and the wide-angle lens, which gives a space more depth. There's also the rarely used fisheye lens, but when it is used, it can make some disturbing images. Finally, let's put the camera in motion. They're called movies for a reason. So, movement. The easiest way to add movement is simply to pick up the camera yourself, in a handheld shot. Notice the shakiness in this shot. Holding the camera like this gives more freedom to the cameraman, but less control. That's why we have STEADICAMs, technically a handheld shot, but with a rig to help stabilize it, giving it a flowing, dreamy effect. But leave the camera on a tripod, and you can still move it with several controlled actions, like the pan, which swivels the camera on a tripod horizontally, left or right. There's also the tilt, where you swivel the camera vertically, up or down. And the zoom, in which the shot length is changed by adjusting the lens, from wide to tight, quickly, or from tight to wide, slowly. The next step up from moving the camera on the rig is moving both the camera and the rig in a dolly or tracking shot. The camera's put on a moving dolly or on tracks, and it moves with the subject. Or without, from left to right, or back to front, or on a curve. The camera can also move upwards with the jib or crane shot. The camera's put on a platform and raised above the subject, or brought down to the subject. Combine camera movement with rig movement and you get this neat trick, the dolly zoom, also called a trombone shot, where the camera is dollied while zooming, changing the depth of the shot. But that's just one trick. These aren't the only terms, or the only types of shot. They're just the basics, the standards. And in the same way that books are made up of words and music is made up of notes, films are made up of shots. Reading a film is just a matter of looking at what's in the camera. At least just a start. In the next video, we'll go outside the camera and talk about mise-en-scène, what goes on in the frame. Thanks for watching.